Hello, Sox fans, and welcome back into another edition of the Sox On Tap podcast. It's Tony on Tap alongside NWI Steve. We're here to talk about another series victory. I think we've worked through most of the technical issues that we had pre-show, Steven, but just fair warning, anybody, if things glitch out, we apologize in advance. But Steven, it's another series victory to talk about. How are you doing on this Sunday night?
Hey, Anthony. I am doing very well, as you mentioned. Sox went out to San Diego, which was discovered by the Germans in 1904. They took care of business, got the job done, baby. That's what you love to see.
Yes, it is. We've got Daniel Barry's in the house. What's up, peoples? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to everybody out there. And to you, Daniel, thank you for tuning in. It's probably going to be a quicker show here. We're just going to recap this series and talk about what's on tap next for the Chicago White Sox. Before we do, make sure you're following the show at Sox On Tap. You can follow On Tap Sportsnet at On Tap Sportsnet. Make sure you go into ontapsportsnet.com for all of your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. Steven, Sox take 2 out of 3 in San Diego. I believe we were talking on Thursday. And I don't think either of us had a series victory on our bingo cards for the weekend. So no bingo for us, but we are happy that the Sox were able to take 2 out of 3 in San Diego. Any initial thoughts from this series before we kind of take a run through each game and hit some of the highlights here?
My general thoughts were this was just a very well-played series. The first 2 games that the Sox were victorious in, good, clean, crisp baseball games. And even this game today that they lost, 4-3. You can't really be upset about it. I mean, look, Anthony Kay gives up a couple of home runs. They fall behind, but they've come back. Ultimately, they showed life. They put themselves in position to win a baseball game against a good team, a playoff caliber team, one that has one of the best bullpens in the sport. And, look, there was an unfortunate break at the end that didn't go their way. And look, sometimes it happens, but you go on the road, you win 2 out of 3 in the ballpark of a playoff caliber team. You have to be happy with that. So just overall, I don't see how you can really be upset about anything that took place this weekend.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. That kind of echoes my sentiment on this. I believe you and I were chatting after last night's victory, and I said, I can't wait to get on these airwaves and talk about a series victory, regardless of what happens today. I think it was important that you walked into, I would consider San Diego to be a World Series contending team. They were leading their division. I'm not sure if they still are after the 2 out of 3. I know the NL West had quite the little losing streak there. I believe every team in that division had lost 3 in a row entering today. But Sox went in and took care of some business in San Diego. Steve, we'll start with Friday's 8-2 victory. Noah Schultz on the mound on the road. I believe it was his 3rd start of his 4th start of his career. 6 innings. I know he only struck out, I think, 2 hitters, but doesn't give up a run. I don't think anybody's complaining about that. That's a tough lineup. And the Sox had some offensive run support given to Noah Schultz to work with. It was a big 6-run second inning there. And he kind of just went on cruise control from there. It was a very nice victory on a Friday night in front of, I think it was like close to 45,000 San Diegoans out there.
San Diego Whites.
San Diegoans. There we go. I don't know what the official term is, Steven. But regardless, it was a White Sox victory on a Friday night, and there's nothing better than a Friday night victory, late night baseball, and then some late night with Chuck and Ozzy to cap that night off.
Yeah. Great way to start the series. Dare I say, great way to set the tone. Noah Schultz went out there that first inning, command of the strike zone got a little bit away from him, but he was able to get out of that inning unscathed. He went out there, gave up a couple of walks in that inning. But again, he was able to pitch around it. And once he was able to kind of get through that, get past that opening inning jitters, he went out there and really just was aggressive in the strike zone. After that, going right after hitters, getting a lot of weaker contact, and went out there, covered 18 outs. Everybody knows I'm a big fan. You go out there, you cover 18 outs from a starting pitcher, I'm going to be happy. And so he did what he had to do out there, especially coming off of the day off on Thursday, going out there, providing some additional length, which can be really important. The first game of a series when you've got 6 straight games that you've got to play right there. You don't want to go out there and you don't want to tax the bullpen right away out of the chute there, that very first game of a series. And he went out there and did that job. And then the offense went and they picked him up. He was able to get out of that first inning. And then the offense said, hey, you know what? Young guy out there, went out there, bared down, and, got through a tough stretch in that initial inning right there. Let's go out there. Let's get some runs. And they went out there and they did just that.
They absolutely did. That second inning was fun to watch, Steve. Fun to watch. Obviously, we can't go without saying this. Munetaka Murakami. Big home run there, Steve. And I know that we've talked about Murakami home runs. That was his 13th of the season. That was an MLB leading 13th home run of the season there for Murakami. 6 runs. We love crooked numbers here, Steve. We absolutely love crooked numbers. And the Sox were able to put that up on the board. And it was pretty much cruise control up until this individual came into the ball game by the last name of Beto. And I wanted to chat with you on this guy because it feels like it's a struggle every time he comes out of that bullpen. I wanted the 8-0 victory, but I digress. We can't have nice things when Beto comes into the ball game, apparently.
It's just kind of one of those things, low leverage reliever going to come in there and going to make you work for it.
I had to find something to complain about.
Yeah.
I had to find something.
No, I get it. Obviously, look, an 8-0 win would be better than 8-2, but that's okay. It happens. Again, just low leverage guy coming in there. Kind of making things a little bit annoying there at that point, but it didn't escalate further from there, and all things considered, just a really nice, good, crisp, relatively stress-free win on a Friday night.
It was, Steve, and I'm sure you have your thoughts on the lineup in this one, but I thought that this was probably one of the better lineups that the Sox have put out so far this season. I would probably also agree that Andrew Benintendi shouldn't really be leading off for the White Sox in any baseball game, but you saw them pretty much put out their A squad. Antonacci in left field. I thought Peters had a pretty good game there.
Peters did that thing where he bunted again.
Yeah, there was just a lot of good stuff. I prefer Romo at this point over Edgar Quero. I think most people do. It really didn't like the Montgomery pinch hit late in the ball game for Colson Montgomery. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but Venable had said after the ball game that they're searching for at bats for Luis Angel Acuna. So overall, it was already pretty much out of hand there. I don't think that Colson Montgomery needed to take another at bat after hitting his 9th home run of the season. I believe that came in the 5th inning. Steve, just an easy victory on a Friday night. That's what we like to see. Let's move ahead to Saturday's ball game, a 4-0 victory, Steve. I love shutouts. And you know what else I love? I love Sean Burke going 6 innings with 8 strikeouts and only walking 1 batter. Again, you talked about pitchers providing you what you like to see. It happened again on Saturday.
Yeah, Sean Burke has really impressed me over much of the last month. I was on his Savant page earlier this morning, just looking at some of the data. As our listeners know, we are nothing without the data. And, a couple of things that just really jump out to me is he's cut his walk rate essentially in half from where it was a year ago. I think he was at like 5.6% on his walk rate here, and he was over 10% a year ago. So that's one of the things that really was getting him into trouble consistently. And we've also seen that as well with Davis Martin this year, kind of dropping down that walk rate right there. And we talked about this. I think it was on Thursday. Last time we got together here on the mic about the importance of limiting those walks, and that being something that has been a hot button issue and a point of contention for me for a couple of years now. And we're really seeing the impact of that with Sean Burke right now. And, they were kind of talking a little bit on the broadcast about some of the tunneling that is happening. And, I even went through and I looked, and, there are some noticeable changes to his pitch mix and how frequently he is utilizing certain pitches, utilizing that knuckle curve a little bit more this year, and even using a sinker. He's having really high level effectiveness with utilizing his fastballs, and just the way that he was sequencing his pitches going out there, throwing fastballs on the outer third of the plate and then complementing that even, I think he had a little bit better command of his slider than he did his knuckle curve on this particular night yesterday here. So just kind of pairing those two together and then just acing guys with fastballs on the outer third of the plate right there. Really just very happy with what we saw from Sean Burke overall. And again, just continue to go out there, go after hitters with consistency, pump in the strike zone. And you just can't be anything other than pleased with the turnaround that has come from Sean Burke here so far this season.
Absolutely. I think he's been it's hard to argue whether Davis Martin or Sean Burke has been the more positive story thus far into the season. Steve, is this a feather in the cap of Brian Bannister at this point? I want to know what you're thinking on this, because I know we talked about it in the preseason spring training shows. Is Brian Bannister on the hot seat? Are you going to chalk these up as victories for your guy in whom we trust, Brian Bannister?
If we see these continue here over the course of the next couple of months, I think it would be very foolish not to look at this as, a victory for Brian Bannister, in whom we trust. Again, the significant improvement that we've seen to this point with Sean Burke, with Davis Martin, and then even some of the guys that, we see in the bullpen here of late. Brian Hudson's really been throwing the ball very, very well of late. He had some bad luck here today, this afternoon, but that's okay. That's going to happen from time to time. Tyler Davis, even, he's only had 4 or 5 outings here, but you can see there could be something there. He had an unfortunate walk to the leadoff hitter in the top of the 8th inning today that kind of reared its ugly head and ultimately resulted in the winning run. But the couple outings that he's had, I mean, the stuff there looks interesting. So there's some positive signs that we're seeing on the pitching front here. And I think even then, just looking at the turnaround that we've seen from Noah Schultz this year, I know a lot of people are going to kind of point to the fact that he's fully healthy. He's not dealing with the knee issue that was plaguing him a year ago, but he's off to a really nice start here. So I think there are some positive signs that we're seeing organizationally on the pitching front here. We just need to see a larger sample size here ultimately now.
Fair enough. I do agree with you that there's some interesting things there in the bullpen. I want to get back to Saturday night's ball game, Steve, here for a minute. There's one hitter in this lineup that I thought had something happen for them that they desperately needed, and that was Edgar Caro driving in. I would call it a pretty crucial run. He's only hitting 164. He's got a 449 OPS. It's not pretty. It hasn't been pretty all season. There was also an ABS challenge that went his way. Those haven't really gone his way. I thought this was
if you listen to Schriffen, you'd think he's the best in the league at it, though.
You would. I had to bite my tongue a little bit after that call. But I agree with you. Man, he really needed to come through in a clutch situation. I hope that spirals in the positive direction. But he still struck out 2 times in that ball game, but he did drive in a run when it mattered. Not that the Padres offense was doing a whole lot of anything, but good to see Edgar Caro get one for himself here. I think, I just mentioned I prefer to see Romo in the lineup at this juncture. But Caro, can this spark him a little bit? What are your thoughts?
I mean, you would hope. We've talked about a couple of times here over the course of the last couple of weeks, the poor start that he has gotten off to. This is what we like to refer to in the business as suboptimal. I think coming into the season, there was still a lot of question as far as how the playing time was going to be divided between him and Kyle Teal. The struggles that Caro has had here, through the first month plus of the season, as he's been given the runway to really get everyday at bats, it's not going to bode well for him ultimately once Kyle Teal is back and ready. And, we've been talking about this in the group text with the fact that, Drew Romo is coming out here and hitting for some power right now at the catcher's position. It's like, is Edgar Caro going to have to get on Zillow right now and start looking up apartments in Charlotte, North Carolina? If this continues, we might not have a choice here.
It's a big possibility. I don't think that anybody coming into this season really predicted that to be the case. But so far, he's left a lot to be desired, both defensively and offensively, in my opinion. And it was just really good to see him come through in that situation. Steve, you say this a lot, and I say I love fireworks. This was an interesting win for the White Sox, a team that's hit the ball over the fence quite a bit so far this season. They won Saturday's ball game in somewhat of a small ball, Ozzie ball fashion. It felt like an old-fashioned White Sox win. I don't know about you, but it had a different feel to that ball game. I enjoyed it for different purposes. But hey, I think that's a really positive sign that this team can find ways to get runs across when the ball might not be flying out the way that we're becoming somewhat used to seeing happen from the middle of the order. Miguel Vargas, Colson Montgomery, Munetaka Murakami, all of those guys somewhat outside of Vargas. He did drive in too. But all those guys did not leave the yard in the way that we're used to seeing. Were you happy that the Sox were able to scrape a win together with some small ball here?
Of course. I mean, you're going to have to find different ways to win baseball games over the course of 162 games, especially when you're going up there against top-level pitching. Michael King, he was throwing the living shit out of the ball for the first 5-6 innings of that game until Vargas was able to hit that little duck snort in there to score 2 runs. So you're gonna have to do that sometimes against a quality pitcher. You can't always be reliant on the home run ball. I think if you look over the course of 162 games, if you have power with consistency, that is the type of thing that is going to lead to a team being successful, generally speaking. But you're going to have those games where you're going to have to scratch and claw, and you're going to have to find a way to push some runs across the plate. You pair that with a quality outing from your starting pitcher, which the Sox got in Sean Burke that evening. That's just a good, clean, old-fashioned baseball win right there.
It was. And I think you and I were chatting a little bit about it after the game last night. I believe my words were, I don't think that that's a game that the prior 3 versions of this White Sox team were going to be able to win the way that King was throwing the ball. I was surprised. I think you mentioned to me that, we could see the Sox strike out 15 times that night. Only 5 strikeouts for Michael King. I know that they wound up with 9. Hart got 1 and Estrada struck out 3, struck out the side there to end the Sox chances. But only 9 strikeouts. We struck out 11 hitters. That's a good sign. I don't think that teams of White Sox past would have been able to overcome so many opportunities with, it felt to me that we were able to get a runner on first base with 1 out over and over and over again. And then whether they were caught stealing, picked off, just opportunities were being cut down left and right for the White Sox to mount any sort of major offensive outburst that we've seen this team be able to do many times so far this season. I just really enjoyed the fact that they were able to find a way to win this baseball game. And I thought it was a pretty solid statement win in the terms of, hey, we don't have to hit the ball over the fence. We can find a way to do this. Solid pitching, solid defensive efforts. Guys were hitting cutoff, man. Like, there was just fundamental baseball. There was not a lot of little league bullshit, as I like to say, taking place in this series. And I think it was on full display on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That was one of the things that we talked about when we had our conversation, post game right there. It was just, like I said, a clean, crisp game. And, you'd made that very point that we haven't really been seeing the little league bullshit of late. That was something that we were seeing maybe the first 2.5 weeks of the season when things were extremely frustrating. That has cleaned itself up here over the last 2 to 2.5 weeks, which I don't think is a coincidence why now all of a sudden we've seen this team win 10 out of 15. So, it's almost like they go hand in hand together.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
How about that?
I can't believe it. I can't believe that when you don't throw the ball around, when you hit cutoff men, when you play solid fundamental baseball, you don't hand the other team runs and lose baseball games in embarrassing fashion. Who would have thought?
Weird how that works.
Crazy to me. Steve, I know we dropped today's baseball game Sunday afternoon, 4-3 loss, but you'd kind of hinted at this. I don't think it was really like an embarrassing loss in any sort of fashion. Anthony Kay takes the mound. I don't really have a great feeling when Anthony Kay takes the mound, to be honest with you and the listeners. I feel like he might be the weak link in the rotation at this very moment. But I thought he was serviceable today, was able to get through what he needed to get through, but didn't provide you those 18 outs that you like. I would like, and we talked about this earlier this season, would like a little bit more from Anthony Kay. Romo hits another homer. We did have a Sunday special lineup, in my opinion, though, Steve. Wasn't a big fan of the lineup. I don't know if you've got thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the classic, Sunday sweep lineup that I'm old enough to remember. That was something Ozzy used to take a lot of flack for, 2005 to, 2008 era. And, I think it was kind of one of those tonight, obviously, or excuse me, this afternoon, obviously, with Miguel Vargas getting the day off. So Montgomery Colson playing third, and then Luis Angel Acuna getting the start at short. I wasn't thrilled about it myself here, but again, I think at the end of the day, they did put themselves in a position to potentially steal a baseball game here. Anthony Kay, did give up the back-to-back home runs in the fourth inning to Miguel Andujar and to Manuel Machado. Neither one of those were cheapies. So, they found themselves down 2-1. And,
Gordon Beckham's call on that was fantastic, by the way.
Gordon had himself a nice weekend. I think he's really started to do a very nice job in the
Are we at the point where he's probably in contention to take over that role for the Chicago White Sox. I know I don't want to go and stray too far off topic, but I kind of have a sneaky suspicion it could be him.
I wouldn't doubt if it's him, or there's also part of me that wonders, maybe it could be a little bit of a rotation between him and I still think Gary, Indiana's very own Dan Plesac
Uncle Dan
might be in the mix.
Uncle Dan, I would love a rotation between the two of them.
Yeah.
He's also talked a lot about how much he enjoys doing that. Now he's got the national gig over on MLB Network and his own show, so it would definitely be an adjustment for him. Probably a little bit more traveling in his schedule there if that were to take place. But I really have come to enjoy both Gordon Beckham and Dan Plesac in the booth. I personally think, and this is just my opinion, both of them are better with John Schriffen than Steve Stone is.
I don't disagree. I think that I think that the broadcast with Schriffen and Stone, I think there is a staleness to it. Now, granted, this is only the third year of them being together, but I think at this point, Stone's been in the TV booth since 2009. It's been a long time now for him. Obviously he was paired with the Hawkaroo initially there, and then obviously the Jason Benetti years, and now with John Schriffen. And I think there is just still kind of a little bit of a condescending way that Stone carries himself. Obviously a very knowledgeable guy.
His insights are excellent.
Yeah.
Most of the time his insights are excellent. The way that he can break down pitching, very knowledgeable about the game. You can learn something from Steve Stone, or you could choose not to if that's your thing too. But I enjoy the more upbeat tones that you get from Gordon Beckham and Dan Plesac. I think that they add a little bit more humor to the broadcast and some memorable moments. Like when
are you trying to tell me that Steven Stone, and humor aren't really in line with each other?
I wouldn't say that they line up very well, but he has his moments. I think everybody does, but I think they come fewer and far between than when you have Dan Plesac and Gordon Beckham on a microphone.
I would tend to agree with that assessment. Yes.
Yeah, that's just where I'm at. I think most Sox fans, have their opinions on the broadcast package, but hey, it's going to be Steve Stone at least for the rest of the year, except for when he's not traveling. I know he's on a reduced schedule. So we do get the opportunity to hear some different voices with John Schriffen. And I think that that's somewhat of a good thing. We'll put it that way. Steve, I don't really have too much more on Sunday's baseball game, unless you've got any other thoughts on this. I've got a couple other topics I want to hit.
I will say this, when they were down 3-1 in the seventh inning, and then Derek Hill hits that pinch hit home run to tie the game. I think that just really kind of showed, this team having kind of some fight and some TWTW in them, and getting a 2-run homer from a guy that is not someone that you look at as a power source. I think it just speaks to the fact that this team really is starting to develop a belief in themselves and believing that they can come back and win a baseball game all the time.
And that's a good thing. I think for White Sox fans, that's a good thing to have. Watching the team develop that, right? Finding ways to win. We talked about this throughout the rebuild so far, and I know from a Blackhawks perspective, Steve, and you're a Hawks guy. We talked a lot of Hawks over winter together.
We may have even taken it a couple 2-3 games together.
Yeah. But the one thing, and I want to just draw a little comparison between the rebuilds here. The big thing in Hawksland is they got to figure out ways to win games and not choke them away. And personally, I thought that the Hawks were a little bit further ahead in their rebuild than maybe the Chicago White Sox were. This is a positive development. when you can find ways to beat good teams consistently, take series from teams, have that next man up mentality. You bring it up right here with the Hill pinch hit home run. That's a good culture win right there. Not that they were able to come and steal this game. We talked about some of the reasons why, but I thought it was, and I think so far this season, you've seen some examples. And that kind of segues me into the next topic here that I want to touch on real quick. There's been a lot of people online, especially Saturday night. And we talked about it in our group chat, and every Sox fan I know, I was pretty much talking to. A lot of people saying the Sox are back. And then there's a couple people who are saying, hey, pump the brakes. A couple people saying, hey, pump the brakes. And that was met very hostile, with a lot of hostility for anyone who was saying, hey, pump the brakes here. Where are we with this thing? I would personally classify this as a really good April and a great start to May. We've seen stuff like the 2016 White Sox. I understand the need to exercise caution, but this has felt
23-10. Never forget.
Yeah, never forget. The record that we're sitting at right now, what is 16-18? Definitely not 23-10. But the vibes, the way this feels has been completely polar opposite to what we've witnessed over the past, I would say, almost four years. Man, are we back? Where are we? I guess I'm excited as a White Sox fan talking about the team again. There seems to be an injection of energy, and I'm enjoying it. I think you are too.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it very much myself. I think that, look, there are going to be ebbs and flows with this team over the course of a season here. They're playing really positive baseball here, like I said, over the last 2.5 weeks. There's going to be a stretch that's going to come in here at some point in the future when it's going to turn ugly again. I don't know if you've looked at the schedule for like the first half of June. There's a homestand.
Daunting.
Yeah. Like they've got a series like in Philly, and then they come home to face my Barves and the Dodgers back to back. It's got a chance. Like it could get tough in there again. And like I said, there's going to be another tough stretch in there. There's going to be these ups and downs that are going to happen here. But I think, starting to see just some of the signs and some of the foundational pieces showing you a reason for optimism and a reason for, hope that things are going in the right direction. Is there still a talent deficit? Yes, but there are signs of life here. And I think that's kind of important because there really weren't those over much of the last 2 seasons here.
No, there were not. And I think that's part of the reason why people are so excited right now is that what did you say? Was they won 10 out of 15? When's the last time this team had a 3-game winning streaks over the past couple of seasons, Steve? Were like mirages in the desert. Those weeks felt like the best week of your year as a White Sox.
I'm trying to remember the last time this team had a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah, they haven't come very often. So
right
when they do, I celebrate your victories. And I'm a big fan of victory beers. We've talked about this on the show. Big fan of victory beers. Going to enjoy that.
And the other thing too is that you're seeing these wins coming as a result and a byproduct of players that matter. I
Yes.
think that's the other thing that is important here. When you look at guys like Davis Martin, like Sean Burke on the pitching side of the equation, Noah Schultz, and then you look at things offensively, obviously with Mooney, with Colson Montgomery, getting in there. You can make an argument if you want to about Pasta Boy, and where his place is with things kind of going forward here, and the likes of Miguel Vargas.
Speaking of Pasta Boy, doesn't strike out very often. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Had two today, I believe, but for his start, he was up there with Luis Ariz in strikeout rate. I think the last two games might have tempered that a little bit, but did see some interesting stats over the weekend that it's difficult to strike him out. Now, I don't know what today was. Could have been, I don't know, maybe hitting leadoff jitters. But I think this team kind of lacks a true leadoff guy, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would agree with that assessment right there, that they don't have kind of that prototypical leadoff guy. They've tried, obviously, Chase Mydroth in that spot. And, Mydroth has been a guy that historically has had good plate discipline, had pretty solid walk rates. There's going to be, I think, a lot of mixing and matching going on with what they do at the top of the order here going forward. So, I would think that we'll see Noodle Boy in there from, time to time. We'll probably still see Mydroth up there. We'll get Pasta Boy in there every once in a while. Who knows? It'd be nice if
Montgomery eventually.
Yeah. That's what I was just gonna say. The guy that is on his way to Charlotte right now.
Yes, that was on my notes. Good segue here.
Just beating the hell out of the ball down in Birmingham to the point where the organization said, "All right, well, fuck it. You know what? We might as well just get this show on the road here and get him up to Charlotte." And the way that ballpark plays. You can see some Nintendo numbers, as the Hawkeroo used to say. Now, it will be interesting to kind of see, because you will see a little bit of a different type of pitcher in Charlotte, or excuse me, in AAA. AA is going to really have a lot of your truly high-end pitching prospects. AAA, you're going to see kind of a mixture. You're going to see some of those guys, some of those high-end prospects that organizations kind of take a little bit of a slower track with.
But you also get to beat up on Odrisamer Despaigne.
You also get that, but then you also get your 4A guys that can go there and can be successful in AAA, but don't quite have that stuff to succeed long term at the major league level. Maybe guys that don't have premium velocity, guys that maybe pitch backwards a little bit more, maybe a little bit more breaking ball heavy. So he can see some different looks and some different variants coming from some starting pitchers there. So it'll be fascinating to see what he does as he goes there. But historically, most of the Sox high-end prospects of recent vintage have really beat the shit out of the ball in the ballpark there in Uptown Charlotte. So I don't expect anything different from Braden Montgomery. That's just kind of what he has done for much of the last year plus since getting into the White Sox system. So, we're kind of on Braden Montgomery watch now at this point with him getting to Charlotte. The question is going to become now is, when is he going to get to 35th and Shields?
I was just about to ask that as my follow-up question here, Steven. Do you have kind of an ETA for Braden Montgomery? I was going to set the over-under on June 20th.
I'm going a little bit back and forth on this. My initial thought was like 4th of July, like so much of what they did with Colson a year ago.
That's why I picked June 20th. I think that there's a push the envelope, or if we want to go back, if we want to ring some nostalgia here, can he check the boxes before June 20th?
He could very well check the boxes, and the other date I was thinking about, if he just goes and sets Charlotte completely on fire, they're at home on Memorial Day against the Twins. We'll see. I think that's probably going to be too soon, personally.
Our guy Sox Insane is in here at under 620. I like it. Okay. That's aggressive.
I mean, listen, I want him to go to Charlotte, continue to beat the shit out of the ball, and force their hand. It'd be pretty cool if he went up there and just lit the world on fire for the next 3 weeks. And they said, hey, you know what? It's Memorial Day. You know what? Fuck it. Let's get wild.
Hey, I think he would fit into this lineup. Well, Steve, one listener comment comes in here. It's clear that Murakami is an all-star, but if Davis Martin has a good month of May, you have to give him some consideration too. I wholeheartedly agree with that. That comes in from Sidney Brown. I would also argue that maybe if Sean Burke continues to toss a good baseball, could you see him get some consideration? Could you see Colson Montgomery get some consideration given the body of work that you've seen him put together since his call up last year? I mean, he's pacing shortstops in home runs. It could be a little bit better of an all-star break for the Chicago White Sox.
My personal opinion is I have a hard time believing they're going to have multiple representatives, just given how bad things have been the last couple of years. And I know that that's not reflective on the 2026 team, but we know very well that unfortunately things like that do get factored into this. And who knows? Maybe Murakami will, lead first baseman in voting. He might get the Japanese vote. I mean, that
could get the Japanese vote. That's a very good
into this. So I mean, it would be pretty cool to see a White Sox starter. Last time we saw that was Tim Anderson. So it's been a hot minute with that.
Did Dave Crochet start an All-Star game, or did he just appear?
He just appeared, but for Bob I'm saying Anderson was the last player that was actually voted
position in. Yeah.
So, I think that would be pretty cool, and I don't know if we can roll it out, with Murakami, because I think if you look at the first baseman right now in the American League, obviously you're going to have to contend with Ben Rice with the Yankees, and those greasy slime balls, stuff in the ballot boxes as they have a tendency to do. You'd also you also have to deal with Vlad Jr. up in Toronto. I mean, that's
you got all Canada rooting for.
Yeah, right. So you do have that factor here, but again, you just gotta wonder, will the Japanese vote really come out in force for Murakami?
We need you, Japan.
Yeah,
please help us.
Yeah, so our Japanese brethren, if you're listening, once those polls start, feel free to just
you can vote as many times as you want to.
Yeah. Feel free to
create new email addresses.
Take a day or two off work if you have to,
and just vote for Murakami in the All-Star game.
Yeah,
it would be fantastic. We would love it. We would thank you.
Yeah,
I'd have to run some ad campaigns.
I
just should. Brooks Boyer was just in Japan. He should start getting over there and start talking to them about how he gets billboards up in Japan on Vote Murakami for the All-Star game.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
But I struggle to think that this team is going to be able to send multiple representatives to the All-Star game. Fair or not, I just think that recent history is ultimately going to be working against them in that factor.
That's fair. I think we got one more topic. This is a hot one, Steve. This is family business that we've got to talk about. Family business. And then we'll get to what's on tap for the Chicago White Sox. There were some comments.
This kind of family business?
This kind of family business. There were some comments that came this weekend via, one of my kids who plays for the San Diego Padres was out there running his mouth. And I was tagged quite a few times regarding this situation. And I want to clear the air a little bit, Steve. I want to clear the air. Now, Gavin is
a lot of questions about your parenting.
Yeah, there was a lot of questions about my parenting. And, fair. When you see something like this take place, I enjoy the feedback. It's a feedback-driven world. You have to take feedback. You have to give feedback. We have to, dissect the situation a little bit. Now, when Gavin was in his, young 20s and patrolling right or left field for the Chicago White Sox, as we worked in the backyard, we threw fly balls up there. We tried to figure out the best way that he could handle the position that Pedro Grifol and Rick Hahn put him in. We worked hard on that. It was
wait a minute. I noticed you left a name out of that.
Oh yeah, Tony La Russa. That's fair. That's fair. We'll put him in there. And again, feedback. I need feedback. We'll keep it open. We worked hard on shit, And there was a time, Stephen, I believe you and I were at a baseball game that was probably one of the better baseball games we've seen in the last decade that the Chicago White Sox have played in. There was a viral clip at the moment of Gavin Sheets coming back to first base and talking to the first base coach, and the crowd's going fucking absolutely wild. Probably one of the happiest moments, Steve, between you and I, outside of being out in Iowa, witnessing Tim Anderson hit a walk-off homer in Rebuild 2.0. Probably the highlight of the entire season was that game against the Houston Astros at home. And I remember Gavin saying something about like how fucking awesome it was at that moment and how White Sox fans showed up. And I at that moment, you think, hey, even if we lose this series, this team's going to go on. It's probably going to find a way to achieve better things than where they are even right now. Still felt like we were on the ride up, right? 21 felt like we were on the ride up. 22, 23, 24 happened, even 2025. Granted, Gavin wasn't here for 25. But you go from a team that was projected to potentially run the AL Central for a while to a perennial 100-loss team. And I remember being on this show with you when the Sox were challenging the Mets record of futility. And I believe your words were it was kind of fucking ridiculous that Sox fans were showing up to the ballpark rooting for the team to lose. So, I mean, these guys are humans. I don't know about you. Now, Gavin can speak for himself. He's 30 years old. He's off in the world. I don't have to speak for him. I think that's a bad lasting impression, and I thought it was a bad lasting impression for many baseball players who played in this city. I thought it was kind of fucking embarrassing. I think those memories may or may not have had something to do with some of the comments. Granted, is Gavin Sheets great at baseball? You can go look at his baseball reference page and determine that for yourself.
I actually am right now because I've got some thoughts.
They're not good. They're not good. He did have a somewhat good season when he went to San Diego for his first year, his best season, arguably, if you want to talk about B-War. But I will say this. I don't disagree with the fact that it was a good thing for Gavin to get out of Chicago because Chicago's been better without Gavin. And Gavin's probably better off not being here. So I'll leave it at that. Steve, I'll let you comment.
Yeah. So here are my thoughts. That aforementioned 2021 season when Gavin said, at game 3, this place is fucking crazy. Gavin slugged .506 that year. 2022 rolls around. He gets 410 plate appearances. Slugs 411.
I was going to say it was close to 390, 411 somewhere.
2023 rolls around, gets another 340 plate appearances, slugs 331.
Hashtag bad.
2024, 500 plate appearances, slugs 357. Gavin, shut the fuck up. If you would have hit the ball with power more consistently, maybe, just maybe, Chicago wouldn't have been the problem. So, I kind of don't want to hear it from you. You were given plenty of opportunities.
Was he given as many opportunities as Adam Engel? Like, I want to dissect that for a bit.
He was given 1,400 career plate appearances in a White Sox uniform, and he slugged 385. When you are a corner bat only player,
you need to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
Or at least doubles.
A slug that starts with a 3 ain't going to get it done. So when your slug starts with a 3 and you're a corner bat only player, like I told Dallas Keuchel, Gavin, shut the fuck up.
There you have it. We had to bring up the family business. I don't think it's unfair. I don't think it's unfair. Steve, we'll close this thing down. We got a 3-game set coming up in LA. Or are we in LA, Steve? This is an often debated topic on this show. Where will the Sox be playing baseball this
in Orange County, which in fact is not LA. I have driven from Orange County to LA. They are not the same. They are not the same.
Boots on the ground journalism from Sox on Tap right here.
This is what the people come to expect from me. Now, I can tell you this. They will be in Orange County. They will be in the city of Anaheim. They'll be in the state of California. They'll be in the Pacific time zone. I can assure you of those things. But they will not, in fact, be in Los Angeles.
One would think that they would, given the name of the team. We've got a series coming up, 3-game set. Davis Martin, 4-1, the 1.95 ERA. That's fantastic to read. We'll take the mound for the Chicago White Sox at 8:38 p.m. Central Time. Steve, I hope you can make it up for these ball games. He's going to face off against a very hot pitcher in Jose Soriano, who's 5-1 with a 0.84 ERA. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. There's ways to get it done.
But the Sox got to him on Tuesday.
Sox got to him on Tuesday. Yeah, we did. I'm pretty sure that 0.84 is a result of the Chicago White Sox. Tuesday will be Eric Fetty against the formidable opponent of TBD starting for the Angels. Fetty is 0-3 with a 3.24 ERA. I think he's pitched a little bit better than his win-loss record. And then the Wednesday matinee on it's going to be on at 3:07. That'll be Noah Schultz taking the mound again. He's listed as the probable pitcher for the Chicago White Sox. He's 2-1 with a 2.53 ERA. Steve, I think that this lines up potentially for another White Sox series victory that we can talk about potentially on Thursday evening. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that kind of should be the expectation right now. Like I said, this team, they've won, I think 5 out of their last 6 series here. The Angels finally snapped a 7-game losing streak last night against the Mets.
This was a key. This was a key that you were talking about the other day.
Right.
You need to get them off the schneid before we face
Mets. Them. You don't really want to go into a series against a team that's on a 9-game losing streak. Now, so the Mets, so the Angels got the win Saturday night, got beat again today. So they're coming into this thing now, having lost 8 out of 9, not playing particularly good baseball, and they've got the worst record in the American League. So you know what? Kick them when they're down.
Yes.
Kick them when they're down. Go in there win a series. That should be the expectation right now, the way that this team is playing, the way that the pitching is lined up for them right now. Simply put, they're playing better baseball than the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim of Orange County of California of the Pacific time zone. Go out there, win 2 out of 3 games, come home, 4-2 West Coast road trip. You know, that would be 2 winning West Coast road trips in the span of a month. Okay? Find a way.
Last time that happened?
Dude, it's been a while. It's been a while. And we got to go back out there again in 2 weeks. So, you know what? Go out there, take care of business.
They're getting their freaking flyer miles for sure.
They are. But the nice thing about it is, you know what? Don't have to worry about that. Don't have to worry about any more, late starts after Memorial Day.
You know, I'm not too happy about it, but we're done with that. And then Steve can stay up and watch his White Sox baseball for the rest of the season without worrying, unless there's a 3-hour rain delay and we get a nice, 9:40 start on the south side of Chicago. Steve, that's about all the time we have for today. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts, you know what? This team's continuing to play good, solid, clean, fundamental baseball. Let's continue that, and let's go win another series in Anaheim. Kick them when they're down.
I agree. Kick them when they're down. That's it's a good thing to do if you're the Chicago White Sox right now. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Sox on Tap, a San Diego series victory. Be sure you're following the show over at Sox on Tap on X. You can follow me at Tony on Tap. You cannot follow Steve, even if you want to. He's not online.
If you do follow me, that's usually when the legal system gets involved.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're stalker free. You can't have anybody following you, Steven. No online presence for you. I'm wondering when the comeback is gonna come.
It's not.
Oh man,
you
can't follow him. The only way you can do it is in person. Yeah. If you can find him.
True.
If you can find him, Steven, it's always a pleasure. You can always get your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs from On Tap Sportsnet and ontapsportsnet.com. It's always a pleasure. White Sox forever.
White Sox for life.